All right, Pastor Mark here with the weekly Ask Pastor Mark newsletter. You can send in your question to hello@markdriscoll.org. I got a question this week from someone named Coral, and they say, hello, Pastor Mark. Hello, Coral. I am wondering about the seemingly ongoing debate between a oneness doctrine and the doctrine of the Trinity. This person says, we moved to a new town and found a Pentecostal church. Yay. Congratulations. And have been attending for a while to find out they believe in oneness doctrine. This has raised some confusion among our household. Any insight would be great. Any insight would be great. Well, what you're talking about is actually what I'll call a closed-handed issues. They're open-handed issues. How old is the earth? What's the best translation of the Bible? Public school, private school, Christian school, homeschool for your kids. Should you speak in tongues, yabba dabba do, or not for you? Or there are closed-handed issues, and among those, I would say the doctrine of the Trinity is a closed-handed issue. What we're talking about is not a secondary, but a primary issue, because when it comes to the question of who is God, that's about as big as it gets. That is at or near the big E on the eye chart, the bullseye at the center of the target. You got to get that right, otherwise your shot is for sure off. So that being said, this is the position of Orthodox, Catholic, and Protestant Christians. It is something that we all hold in common. It is the confession and creeds of all the early church. This is how the vast majority of Bible students and scholars have understood the complicated teaching of the Trinity for thousands of years. And a deviation from that, I will just lean over the plate and take one for our team here at the Trinity Church in Scottsdale, Arizona. It's false teaching. You should find a new church. You should find a new church because they are misreading and misrepresenting God as presented and revealed in the Bible. And the largest denomination, if I can use that word, that teaches this position is the United Pentecostal Church. There are some people there that love Jesus. There are some people there who are Christians and they don't fully understand the doctrine of the church. I don't want to say, who's going to heaven, who's going to hell. That's not my job. But that denomination is the largest one that does not hold to the teaching of the Trinity. That's probably where you landed. And if so, it's time to gas up the car and go look for another church option. That being said, you can go to the United Pentecostal Church's website. They will list their doctrine. It includes a refutation of the doctrine of the Trinity. And they're just clear about it. Now, when it comes to the doctrine of the Trinity, what we're talking about is one God in three persons, eternally and simultaneously existing, Father, Son, and Spirit, sharing all of the divine attributes and living in perfect harmony as the first loving relational community. Our God is relational. The Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, they share all of the divine attributes. They live together simultaneously and eternally, and they live in perfect union and communion. God made us in His image and likeness, said it was not good to be alone because we could not reflect the Trinitarian relational nature of God by ourselves. And that's ultimately why Adam got a wife and why we're supposed to be in relationship both with God and with one another, because that is the nature of God. God didn't make us because He was lonely. God didn't make us because He needed someone to have a relationship with, someone to love and be loved by and communicate to and to hear from. God had all of that eternally and perfectly in the union and communion of the Trinity. That being said, when it comes to the doctrine of the Trinity, it is three things. Number one, God is three persons. Number two, each person is fully and equally God, sharing all of the divine attributes. And number three, there is only one God. This can be complicated, but it's not shocking. When we're talking about what is God like, it does not shock me that my 3-pound fallen brain is struggling to ascertain and understand the full revelation of the Creator of the heavens and the earth. When Isaiah says that His ways and His thoughts are above mine, that is more than just a few feet. That is quite an infinite distance. That being said, we can know God truly even if we don't understand all of God fully. And what I'm meaning is there is a mystery in the Trinity, some things that it is admittedly very difficult for us to understand, but we can know God truly. We see that at the baptism of Jesus, where the Son of God comes out of the water, the Holy Spirit descends upon Him in the form of a dove, and the Father says from heaven, "This is my Son, in whom I am well pleased." There is the entire Trinity, and they are there simultaneously. This is crucial because one of the essential components of what is called oneness theology, modalism, Sabellianism, or Jesus only, those are sort of popular phraseology and nomenclature for these groups, is that the members of the Trinity live successively, not simultaneously. So God presented himself as the Father in the Old Testament. He presented himself as Jesus in the days of Jesus, and presented himself as the Holy Spirit after Pentecost, the book of Acts and following. But they would not say that God is simultaneously existing. He is successively revealing himself. So that concept of modalism, it's modes. It's like God puts on a mask. And in the Old Testament, he takes the stage and pretends to be the Father. And then in the days of Jesus, pretends to be the Son. And then in the days of Acts and forward, he pretends to be the Holy Spirit. But we see simultaneously at the baptism of Jesus, the Father speaks, the Spirit descends, and the Son comes up out of the water. There is the whole Trinity. We hear this as well in the Great Commission to make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. In the name, one God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, three persons, one God. That being said, this is a critical issue, and what you'll also hear in this sort of oneness theology or Jesus-only theology is you'll hear a lot about manifestations but not persons. That language will clue you in that they don't believe in one God and three persons. They believe in one God who presents himself in three manifestations. That's differently. That's like me going and changing my outfit and saying that I'm one person, and then coming and saying that I'm someone else, and then coming to say that I'm someone else. I'm like an actor playing three different roles and presenting myself as three different characters, but I'm one person. That's very different than one God in three persons living with equal divine attributes, living simultaneously, living in community, and revealing themselves simultaneously, as I said, at the baptism of Jesus. So I am sorry to say this, and I know that some will take offense to this. I do believe that there are open-handed issues that we need to be gracious, loving, kind, and understanding about. There are closed-handed issues that we also need to be loving, gracious, and kind about, but we need to say that these are important enough that it's worth leaving a church, it's worth leaving a denomination, because if it is the wrong God, then it is the wrong place. Thanks for your question, Carol.